Good day, students. Good day, class. I hope you are well. Today, we'll be continuing with our segment and our session on Module 1. We actually have come to the end of Module 1, and therefore, we will be discussing a few questions that I have derived from a question paper of 2021. However, as any educator, revision is quite important to go over, and therefore we will look at the two major concepts within this particular model of principles of organization. However, if we look at these two main concepts, we have the principles of organization and the second one being types of specialization. It's important to know the main topics within this module as well as any of the other modules for the mere fact that questions will be derived from these modules. Questions will be derived from these main points within the module, and therefore it's important for you to know what is the principles of organization. What does it entail? What does it mean? And vice versa, what does it mean when we talk about types of specialization with its advantages? And when would it be appropriate for you and I to go into a sales organization by following the streamline of geographical organization or product or service or types of clients or function or matrix. So in all the modules, it's important for the student of knowledge to understand what is the main concepts in the module as well as formulating your own question verbs based on those particular content. So again, the two major topics within module 1 of organization of the sales force is principles of organization as well as types of specialization. And if we look at some of the major points within the principles of organization, it is hierarchy of authority, unity of command, span of control, as well as whether a firm should be centralized or decentralized in its organizational structure, in its communication, as well as if you take it to the third module in terms of centralized training or decentralized training as well. And if you look at all of them, they all have key information attached to them to make it easy to understand, especially if you have a question like explain what is hierarchy of authority. Hierarchy of authority means that activities within the organization takes place on different managerial roles. It goes on to say that each person, each member controls then therefore falls under the control of a manager with a certain authority and a certain responsibility assigned to him or her regarding that specific managerial role. Students, so in this case, I would like you to highlight and take note of keywords like each control falls under the control of a manager. But what is there is that they need to have a certain degree of authority as well as responsibility within them. However, this also then leads to the heading of hierarchy of authority. If we look at another point, example, we have unity of command. And we said unity of command means that all people in the sales organization, meaning all people, all Salesforce staffing members in the organization should be supervised by a particular person. And who is this person? A person who is a single person, but they have the proper authority and responsibility to fulfill that unity of command role. So, authority and responsibility. If you look at span of control, again, it is a particular person where this particular person needs to control a number of salespeople, a number of sales force, and these people should be supervised by a single immediate salesperson. Again, they're very specific to who should do this and what should they have and how many people should be in that span of control, who should be in the unity of command, or who should be in the hierarchy of authority. And when does this span of control become applicable? When would we apply an optimum span of control. So, students, this question that I'm giving you here, explain how the optimum span of control would be determined within an organization based on factors of the following, is a question that has come in your national exam too many times for the mere fact that it was likely will be there again. If we say out of 100%, most likely they'll ask you 80%. So out of 80%, the likelihood would be there that this question will come in. And when we talk about an optimum span of control, what are the factors to consider to have an optimum span of control? The particular objectives and circumstances of the organization should be met, the complexity of the tasks, the skill levels of the sales manager, as well as the sales level of the salespeople, and the amount of time that the sales manager can spend on his immediate supervision of his or her sales staff. So that is when an optimum span of control is there. However, we'll talk about in the third module, one of the major objectives within training of your sales force is to decrease direct supervision. And that's also the ability of decreasing your span of control over your sales force, because you don't want to always be supervising them. You want to reduce the direct time to supervise them so that you can be productive and they can be productive in their own line of work, so that more can be done in productivity of sales volume. So that is one of the span of controls as well. So let's quickly jump towards some of the questions I have found within a past paper, and we'll look at 2021 of June, and then we'll consider looking at December 2021, and then we'll look at all module 1 questions of 2022 up until 2024. So let's have a look. It says here question 3.3.1, or question 3.3.1. Although sales organization structures differ from company to company, certain organizational principles apply to all companies. Here the question says, so briefly explain. So briefly explain is a middle order question. It is explaining but briefly, not critically explain, not elaborately explain, but briefly. So middle order. Briefly explain what is meant by the following. What is meant by each of the following principles? Essentially, it could also be define what the following principle mean. Define what the following principles mean. So, firstly, we look at hierarchy of authority. Hierarchy of authority, according to the memo, it means that it means that activities within an organization takes place on different managerial roles. That can also be taken. It can also be added on that the activities within an organization takes a place on different managerial roles, and the person who takes on the responsibility of these activities should have the necessary authority and responsibility to manage and to fulfill that particular role. It goes on to say what is unity of command, and it says here that unity of command means that all people in the sales organization should be supervised by a single individual person who has the proper authority and responsibility to fulfill this supervisory role. And if you look at the mark allocation below 3.1.3, it says 3 marks times 2. So essentially, not 3 marks, sorry, it means there's 3 questions, 2 marks each. So for each point, you'll get 2 marks. It goes on to say span of control. What is span of control? Refers to the number of salespeople who can be supervised effectively by a single immediate sales manager. So essentially, what we've discussed in the slides has been applied to 3.1.2 and 3.1.3. However, it means in 3.1.1, they've just used the beginning of the sentence where it says it means that all activities within in the organization takes place on different managerial roles. However, if we just jump back quickly to hierarchy of authority and we look at what they are saying, essentially we can add more to this. And though it says that hierarchy means that activities within an organization takes place on different managerial roles, you can add that each control then falls under the control of a manager with a certain authority and responsibility assigned to him or her regarding that specific managerial level. You can add that as well because I've seen that in past memos, or national markers have added that particular sentence to the memo as well. Okay, so again, if we look at the question and the way they have set up the question, it for me it's the same in terms of all the other questions of how do we explain principles of organization, how do we determine the principles of organization, and so briefly explain, discuss, um, or just explain what is meant by the following principles, and so forth. However, if we look at the next question, and this question pertains to specialization, and therefore, if you look at this question, especially the module and the topic of specialization, there's a wide variety of ways that they could propose of asking the question, especially like when do you consider the specialization to be appropriate, or the advantages and disadvantages of that specialization, or they give you a case study, a scenario, a sentence, and we need to establish what type of specialization is this. Okay, so we look at the following. It says here, which one, which, sorry, not which one of the types of organizational specialization can be described as follows. It is used when a sales organization is based on different types of customers classified according to the industry or distribution channels. Automatically, if I look at the question, I already have my answer based on one or two things. It says which type of organization is described here. Some key indicators that gives me this is the wording different types of customers classified, based on different types of customers classified, and the question has the answer, which is client or customer specialization, based on what I've mentioned. So then there'll be a follow-up question on that particular type of organization as well. So that's something important to take note of, students, that in whenever they ask you this question, what type of organization is described here, then there'll always be a follow-up question based on that particular specialization. So it says, give 5 advantages of this type of organization. What type of organization? Customer or client specialization, for 10 marks. And 10 marks, 5 points times 2. So we need 5 points times 2. It's important, ladies and gentlemen, to look at your mark allocation. 5 times 2, 2 marks each for 5 points equals your 10 marks. And what is the advantages of going according to client or customer specialization? It means that only one salesperson calls on each client. That is a given. We don't want too many people calling the same client because it could be repetitive, it could be annoying, and customers don't like and clients don't like when too many people call them of the same company. They can build long-term relationships with clients since the sales staff focuses on clients' needs. That's also one of the major things which collaborates with the following point, and it says that salespeople can render an exceptional service to clients with whom they have come in regular contact with. And that ultimately means that those 2 points we talk about a customer orientated philosophy where you've built a long term relationship with them, you understand the customer's needs, you provide exceptional service to them, and you capitalize on that advantage of knowing the customer and therefore providing um, superior service to those customers and clients who's at your disposal because you have a customer orientated philosophy. The fourth point, it says that a sales force is marked orientated and is market sorry a sales force is market orientated and is in line with the problem solving approach followed by the modern professional sales consultants. It goes on to say the last one that the structure can assist salespeople and the sales manager to identify and focus on key accounts, which usually improves overall sales. And that is ultimately important to look at as a manager, to identify and focus on key accounts, especially to consider how the timeline of sales will improve or will it decrease. Going back to time series analysis in five, where we look at past accounts, we look at past data, past structures, and that can help us identify who do we need to contact, who do we need to approach, and what customers are more likely to grab to this particular product or service that we are offering in client specialization in the industry. And therefore it means once we have them, the sales will be improved as well. And this is where we call it a day. Within our next slide, we will then continue and start with module 2, recruitment and screening of the sales force. Thank you for listening. Please like, please subscribe, please share with your friends. All the best with the test mark 1 series coming up, or TM1. All the best with test 1 that's coming up for the college students. Please revise, please go over module 1, 2, 3. You'll be okay if you understand what is the main content in the module and formulate the question verbs on that and answer those questions. It's also ultimately important to answer your exemplar questions within those particular modules as well.